Workflows. All right. Let's talk about online booking, Chance. Have you ever booked anything online with a service professional? And what was that experience like? Like, have you had good and bad experiences in terms of booking online?
Yeah, I mean, if it's streamlined, if it's fast, if I can do it in under 5 minutes or 10 minutes, because we're all busy, so I'm going to do this at the grocery store in line or at an oil change place while I'm waiting for my car to get serviced. Uh, that's the big one. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten 2 steps in, and I'm like, man, I'm already tired. Like, I'm out. I'm gonna find somebody else real quick. Google, where's the nearest location? So it's one
What
of those. It's got to be streamlined.
on those ones that you've backed out of, and James, you probably have experience here too to share. Like, what was it? Was it like user interface, or if like just an example of any of those kind of like hard to book experiences?
Yeah, it's exactly what it was, and kind of what James said. I didn't know what step one was or step two was. Like I felt like I was having to teach myself how to do it rather than just following step one, step two, step three, and I'm done. So it's one
Mm.
of those like it's got to be a consistent, easy to follow workflow.
And something that I throw in there because I usually go into online booking processes fearing for the worst, honestly. Every time I start one, I'm just like, I'm gonna be pissed off by the end of this thing. I don't know why. It's probably need some therapy at this point in my life just to help this issue. But I do go into them almost angry to begin with because I'm just like, this is probably going to be a bad experience. And the nice thing is that has not been the case as much these days. People have actual really nice booking flows on their websites. And kind of like the one you're seeing here, it's asking for the information that you're willing to give. It has kind of sensible steps to it. And when I go through this experience, I'm actually way happy at the end that it was so easy and it made sense and it worked. So I think there's also probably those people, I'm in my 40s, in that age group that kind of went through the transition from never booking anything online to booking things, and that middle part really stunk. So I think it's a good opportunity if you have a good flow like this. A lot of people are going to be happy that it wasn't a bad experience, and they may expect that just walking in.
Great call. Yeah, and to your guys' point, you can see here there's like steps at the top telling you where you're at. There's a confirmation. It sets expectations, and like that's the biggest thing where yeah, I get pissed off is where like I don't know what the next step is, or I don't know what to expect, or I didn't confirm what I'm paying for here. All important things, and so that's just a big vote for online booking, right? And so for a lot of solo inspectors that may be watching this, they maybe don't understand you can automate a lot of this, right, Chance? So to me, it's like these things can look very professional, and it's okay if it's automated, right? Because like you've probably gotten automated emails, but you didn't care because it helped give you confirmation or reminded you about something like a dentist thing, right? So like, can you speak a little to just like the power of this in terms of efficiency for solo inspectors?
Yeah, I mean, this ties in directly what we said about marketing. These emails probably take away a half an hour to an hour and a half of your day in the morning, get lunch at night. Get rid of that and get your time back, and you can spend it on marketing or a coffee lunch date with someone. So don't feel bad that it is automated or kind of a cookie cutter approach. Like we're all used to it. Like I take no offense to it, and you can even still customize it. You can have in certain things called placeholders where your name gets pulled in, so it's still a personal email. I'm not just hey client 0012. I am somebody. I am Mike. I am Chance. So it's yeah, just
And James, we've even seen inspectors like spice these up by putting articles on what to expect from your home inspection, 5 common defects in the Seattle area. Like there's ways to make these like really good banger of emails, right? Like it doesn't have to just be the dentist, confirmation.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think this is setting you up. And I remember years ago, I was getting ready to do some public speaking and I was doing some research into public speaking. And one of the things that they talked about was the introduction you get from another person is usually the best way to have a good presentation. And if you think about these pre-inspection emails you can send out, if you are adding those nuggets, if you are giving them a little bit more context or information, it's almost like it's setting you up. So when you walk in the door, they're like, oh my gosh, this guy is an expert. He really cares because he's trying to help. And it's going to give you this opportunity to walk in the door and they'll be more confident in you, which will lead to a better inspection anyway. So this isn't just about automation, but it's about setting the table. And then same thing on the back end, obviously. Like, how do you follow up? How do you make sure that you're, thanking them when the payment is received? Things like that. There's all these little touch points that you can automate, but will also be very human and will make people feel good about you as an inspector and the experience, which will lead hopefully to those good reviews that you need to be successful.
Exactly. You only get so many touch points before you ask afterwards for that critical review that helps build your business. So we're just going to get into the software here, basically like efficiency of saving taps. This is a whole subject on its own. There's been, we've made plenty of videos on like the usage of the software, but we can each weigh in terms of like being efficient and not spending hours at home doing the inspection. That's how we made our name. That's why I think we gained a lot of traction early, was like a mobile app that was efficient. Chance, you've supported the app for a bit in terms of helping people with it. Anything that comes to mind when you think of just saving taps and saving time that you would guide inspectors on and kind of urge them based on who you've spoken with?
I want to throw out a metaphor. If you're building a house, you can use a screwdriver and screws, and it's going to turn out great. But if you use a power drill, you're going to do that same great job in a third of the time. So that's what this software does, is it just makes you be able to move faster. Even in here, you can include, default photos from other findings to have as a compare contrast. So you want the best tool to do your job. You can do it with another tool, absolutely, but you want that best tool and you want to invest in it.
Yeah. And I'll say, having been on both sides, the agent side, the home buyer side, and then like using the app, inspectors can give more to the client experience and the agent experience if they have a mobile app that feels smooth and slick and they know where things are and it's efficient. If they're fighting their app, that's less time you can think about educating that home buyer, making sure the agent's not freaked out that you're going to point out 30 red defects. So like it all plays together into like a good experience. And so that's just more of a PSA for inspectors of like, know your software, whether you're using us or not, and make sure it gives you the best chance to do an efficient inspection. James, the fact that we're marketing this all the time, anything to add there? Obviously we're biased towards our mobile app, but
yeah, definitely biased. But no, I think when you look at just kind of across the software landscape, right, the companies that rise to the top are the ones that make it easy to learn and use. And so if you're still deciding on what software you want to use, that's something to ask yourself. Is this something, obviously, is it reviewed well and are people happy with it? But also, with a free trial, can you go in and just test out the flow? There's going to be a learning curve to anything. But I think what you'll notice with sort of it's like a website, like a good website versus a bad website. It's going to be a lot easier to do things on the good one. And so with apps like this, try them out. You got to learn a little bit, but super important to know that that smoothness, the ease of use, that's going to make your business better, your life better, you more efficient, and give you more time to do better stuff.
Love it. Publishing on. Oh, go ahead.
I'll say what James just said. With whatever technology you do, you're going to have to learn. You're going to need support. So whatever apps you do choose to test out and try, make sure they're supported, because what good is a tool if no one will teach you how to use it and you have to learn on your own? It can be really frustrating. So just make sure you have that element of the app as well.
I love that. And ask your software provider, how many developers do you have full-time that are supporting this? How many support people do you have when I write in, at 6 p.m. at night to help me? We're coming up on 60 full-time people at Spectora. And so like, I'll put that up against anybody. So of course I'm gonna have a shameless plug right there, but publish on site. Got our boy Randy Lambert on here, who's going to be on the podcast soon. This is a tough one for new inspectors. I actually asked the last podcast guest I had of tips to kind of graduate towards publishing more on site, to work into everything we just talked about, of like, be efficient. Don't do your inspection at home and on site, because then that's 4, 5, 6 hours. So I think a lot of it is easing into getting your pictures on site slotted in the right defect. And so it's not going to come natural on day one, but you got to start with section by section, kind of saying, okay, all my plumbing defects, I'm going to make sure to take the picture on site, add it to the defect, and don't take the easy bait of just saying, I'm just going to snap, 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 and I'll do it at home. Because I've seen inspectors get used to that over time, and they're in year 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're the bottleneck to growth because they can't do it on site. So publish on site. I guess, would you either of you caution against new inspectors doing this right away? I think you work
It's
towards
case
it
by
right away.
case.
Yeah, I think you work towards it, and it's a confidence thing, right?
Yep.
So I don't know how much I don't know how much we need to chat about this, but do you either of you have any I guess caution or tips for new inspectors practicing this, putting photos in on site?
I would say the only thing for me is I would imagine if I went, especially early on being an inspector, and I went to a place, I took a bunch of pictures, then I went home and tried to assemble that. I would probably forget stuff on the drive, and it would just take me a lot more, time, right?
Yeah.
I'd be working really hard to remember, okay, is this the picture of, this part of the basement that I found the pipe leaking, or was that the other pipe leak?
Yeah.
You may forget just the location of those. So don't put yourself in that position. I think what you guys said is like, set yourself up to be the inspector who learns how to complete as much of the inspection on site. So you never have to be the person who's not doing that.
Yeah, the first inspections will definitely take longer, and it may feel clunky talking to the client agent while taking pictures, but it does limit liability, I believe, too, to kind of get them in there and get your comments done. So just work on that from the start. That's kind of the takeaway there. So to kind of wrap this up, guys, repetitive tasks, automation, letting the software work for you to save time so you can spend time with your family or dogs or growth activities, whatever you want. And then focus on efficiency on site.